calling me.
Okay, good to go.
Can someone call Carl?
Yep, I will. Go
We're-
ahead.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Town of Pompey monthly board meeting for October. It is October 5th, 6:30 p.m. And I am actually at the town hall, as is Ann. We are continuing to hold our meetings virtually. Mostly at this point, we would like to be back together, but the audio system at the town hall is not capable of allowing us to all participate without having sound issues. So we continue to do that virtually pursuant to the governor's executive order, which he has extended. Tim, is he due to reconsider it again soon? Like,
He just did, Renee.
okay, I was thinking it was.
I think he just did in September, at the end of
Okay.
September.
So we will continue to be able to hold our meetings virtually, allowing the public to participate through both our Zoom link, which you can always find on the town website, as well as on the Facebook page, and live streaming through the Facebook page. We also record the meeting and it's uploaded onto the town's website, as well as having meeting minutes transcribed and also uploaded to the town's website. And tonight in attendance, just raise your hand. Town Councilor Judy McElhannon, Codes Officer Bob Rodriguez, Town Clerk Nikki Reed, Town Highway Superintendent Tom Purcell, Town Attorney Tim Proteski, our Accountant Bookkeeper Tom Chartrand, and Christmas, our Town Councilor, Veronica Hoteling, who does our web management, is on but not on video. And I know Carl Dennis is trying to get on. Sheila Larkin, another Town Councilor.
Veronica? Is
Yes.
Veronica there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Will you call Carl at his, I'm going to send you his information. Call him on his house phone
Yep.
because he's having a little bit of difficulty getting on his cell phone, but I'll send you his information right now and you'll be all set.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Sorry, Renee, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was waiting for you to let us know how that, where he was at.
Yep.
So Tom Chartrand, why don't we start with your bookkeeper's report?
Okay, so as far as the monthly report goes, it was a little bit more active than some months. Our general spending is currently at 58% without the SOTs included. Our revenue is at 93%. Our highway fund spending is currently at 55% to budget, and our revenue is at 91% to budget. The highlights from the receipts and disbursements, we had a very strong town clerk month, a little bit over $3,000 coming in, which is a nice improvement from what we've been doing. We did get a couple of small refunds from New York State Municipal Workers' Comp Alliance. That was a reduction in our premium due to the fact that we had a lot earlier in the year when people weren't working due to COVID. They lowered our rates on some of the high things like snow plowing and that type of thing down to office work type stuff. So we got $500 there. And we had paid for the hotel for training for our town clerk earlier in the year. We got a refund on that as well. Court fines were a little bit stronger this month than they've been the last couple. So we were right around $2,000 that came in. On the highway fund, we had a couple of fuel reimbursements. Trust and agency, just normal stuff there. Special districts, we did close the balance that was left in the sewer districts after entering into the lease with Onondaga County. And so those have been transferred to the drainage districts. As far as the spending goes, nothing was really out of the ordinary there for this time of year. As far as the main report goes, I have some more bad news on our high interest NICLAS savings, we're now at 0.45%, which is still better than we were doing before we entered this, which is NBT at 0.02%. So we're a little bit over twice as much interest earned as we would be if we didn't have this program in place. So as far as the main report goes, I did have one transfer. I think everybody found the transfer sheet. We're going to be moving money from the general repairs contractual to the improvements, which is the CHIPS program. And as you recall, we spoke last month about the CHIPS being reduced to 80%. So we had gone ahead and already done the work and then found out we're down to 80%. So we're going to move money from the road repair line into the CHIPS contractual. So we would need a separate motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we, do you want to do it now, Renee?
Sure.
To remove $11,000 from general repairs into improvements.
I second that.
Okay, so Ann made a motion, Judy seconded it, and Sheila tried to, but she didn't have.
Yep, I'm here now.
Hi, Sheila.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So other than that, we have the bank reconciliations.
Did everybody get a chance to look at the?
Yep.
Okay,
I make a motion that we accept the bank reconciliations for the town clerk, tax collector, and supervisor.
Second.
Judy seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, I think everybody was up reviewing the bills. I wasn't, was there any questions that resulted from looking through the bills?
No.
Tom, yes, everybody made it up here after you dropped them off, and just for the public's knowledge, we have been paying our approving our bills by coming to the town hall at separate times to review them and then sign. So we're doing it separately. The only, I did have a chance to talk to Steve, the engineer, about the one bill, or the two bills actually. No, the one bill and the refund. So I pulled that because I want to talk to you about it. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Just because I think we should talk about it some more after talking to Steve.
Okay, so we should, Nikki, you know which one we're talking about in case they give you a call.
Yeah, I know exactly which one.
Sorry. And I just, where's Tom Purcell? I just have to say, and maybe you don't want me to, well, you won't care. We are paying a very large bill to Midland Asphalt for paving work, $152,000. But I want the people on Henderson, Burke, Purcell, number 4 Road, the trailer park in Delphi Falls, Raleigh, Jerome, number 2 Road, Brickyard Falls Road, Gibbs Road, Bluegrass Road, Citation Road, Estee Road, Kelly Road, Frank Long Road, and Burke Road, to know that all that money went into those roads, correct? Am I correct, Tom?
That is correct. That's resurfacing the roads.
Okay, so.
Almost
a lot of money,
A
but
little over 10 miles.
how much?
A little
10
over 10 miles of road total.
So. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve payment of bills?
I make a motion.
To approve payment of bills.
Sheila made a motion. Anybody
Second.
second?
Second.
Second it. Any discussion other than what's already been had? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And I will mute out unless there's any other questions for me.
Nikki, you're up.
Can I
Thanks,
start with the
Sarah.
pledge?
We didn't do
Oh
the.
my
pledge.
goodness.
Okay, mute.
Here,
Okay, let's-
You want me to mute it?
let's put the flag in. I apologize.
Hello?
Hello.
Pledge of allegiance
To the flag
flag
of
of the United States of America
America For which
and
is
to the republic for which I
for which it
stand,
stands, one nation,
one
This is
nation
not-
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all. My sincere apologies.
Okay. Did everyone have a chance to review the September 2nd, 2020 meeting minutes draft that I put together?
yes, yes.
Yes.
So I'm looking for a
And
motion to approve.
I
those.
make a motion that we accept the minutes of the September 2nd and the September 28th budget workshop minutes.
I second that.
That's Anne made the motion, Judy seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
My second is to adopt the resolution for the record retention schedule. Did everyone receive a copy of that with the town hall? It was on the table in the back.
Yes.
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 So it's the
I'll
most
make-
recent record.
And what that, do you want to give a little explanation of what that does, or? That's just is that an update?
It's an update.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, there's, they update it every 6 years or so.
Okay.
The MU1 schedule for record retention.
I think the current one I have is through the end of 2020. So this would be the updated one for 2021 through 2027.
did someone make a motion?
I
I
make a
started
motion. She started that.
Anne made
I'll make a
motion.
motion that we accept the new records retention schedule
I
to replace
second
the
it.
MU1.
I
Judy
second.
did it. Any discussion? All
No.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I note that Carl's on now. He's on audio.
Good. We finally arrived.
Yes, good evening, Carl.
Good evening.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
Carried.
The last thing I have is I just wanted to touch base on the collection of school taxes for the two districts that I collect. I collect for Jamesville, DeWitt, and Fayette Manlius. I just wanted to thank all the taxpayers for how wonderful they've been throughout the whole process that we've set up to try to keep everyone safe during COVID. Everybody has been so patient and so understanding, and it's so greatly appreciated. So we sent a letter home to people who are not in escrow, just letting them know the protocol that we were expecting. And we have received so many tax payments through the mail, which is what we were asking. We still have a handful of people who want to pay in person, which is completely fine. These people have been lovely to deal with. They come in the way they're supposed to. They ring the bell, they see somebody inside, they wait back into their car, they wait for the next person to go out. We wipe everything down and we kindly tell them, all right, you can come back in. And I'm telling you, it's just been so appreciated with how amazing everyone has been. So as of this morning, because we got a lot of foot traffic in, so not including today, we have collected a little short of $7 million for the Fayetteville Manlius School District. And we are a little over 800,000 for Jamesville DeWitt. So we are still collecting, but we just sincerely wanted to thank everybody for how wonderful you all have been through this process with us.
Good job.
That's
Nice.
good to hear.
Yeah. But that's all I have. I just wanted to thank everyone.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks,
Can I
Nick.
go back to Tom Chartrand and ask you, what should we do about the budget workshop minutes from September 28th?
Well, those should be approved as well.
Yeah, and I put them under the clerks, although you were not,
Kind of threw that in that same motion.
I wasn't sure. Was it in that motion?
It was. I included it when I made it.
Okay, good. All right. So let's move on to Tom Purcell.
Okay, I just got to do a little report on the salt barn repair for the roof. We did turn it over to the insurance company. I reached out to them several months ago. And they wanted 2 quotes, so we did get 2 quotes, and they obviously the lower one, and they're going to help us with it. But by law, if we're spending over 30 grand, my understanding is we have to get 3 quotes, and we also have to have the specs written up by the engineer. So I need the board's permission to move forward with that and reach out to Steve Snow, see if we can get engineer to draw out specs so we can put it out for bid, so we can have people rebid this project.
Can you do me a favor, Tom? Tell people what the insurance company is providing.
The insurance company, what they're providing, what they want to do for us, they want to,
I mean, it's somewhere, it's quite a bit, right?
yes, they're going to give us the lowest bid that we got so far, which we got to rebid, but it was $66,000 to replace the salt barn roof. The insurance company has a depreciation, which the town will have to pay $16,500. So that means the insurance company is going to pay the town $49,500 to repair our to replace our salt barn roof. But we have to get the quotes or the specs written up by the engineer and rebid it and go through
So
the
the
proper
specs
channels.
have never been written up by the engineering company prior to this?
No, because the insurance company, when they reached out to me, all they wanted was 2 quotes and the damage from roofers. That's all they wanted to start with.
Okay, I just didn't know if like in the past, it had ever been put through somewhere before my time, so as long as we're not double dutying with the engineer,
No, we are
Okay,
not.
thank you.
I'd like to jump in. We did bid it when we originally replaced the first roof, but that was many years ago. So it wouldn't be
So-
appropriate anymore.
Okay,
2008, that was.
yeah.
Yeah, so we obviously have to do it now.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
an option.
Okay,
So,
I'll make the motion if no one wants to, that we have the engineer draw up the specs for the roof replacement and to advertise for, is it advertising we need to do? Is it bids or quotes?
It's advertising for bid, but technically the town board should review the specifications and agree to it before they put it out to bid. I think Tim would probably agree with me on that.
Yes.
I second that.
so, any discussion?
Mm-mm.
So then we should bring this back before the board next month if it's ready from the engineer.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'd like to encourage the engineer to have it ready for next month.
And Tom, are you anticipating trying to get the work done before the snow flies?
No, I probably not. Being this time of year, I'd like to see anybody put a roof on in cold weather. I'd rather wait till it's hot weather so they seal properly.
Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
all right.
welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So that was all for you, Tom?
That's just filling the barn up with salt and sand. Pretty soon we'll be putting the plows on. Usually middle of October, we start dressing the snow plows. So this is Pompey. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tom.
You're welcome.
Codes, Bob Rodriguez.
Hello. I gave you and Nikki a report today. Real quick summary. To date, we've issued 96 building permits. We have 78 open, 18 permits have been closed. I've got now 7 permits sitting on my desk, waiting for either paperwork or checks. I have well over 115 permits this year. 2019, we still have 20 open permits that are active. We've got several complaints out there that we're dealing with. Right now, I'm preparing for 2 for legal action. I hope to have them issued this week. We made great progress over the weekend or over this past couple months, and we've had a lot of great feedback from the community and how things are going.
Good.
The other thing I've got is another electrical inspection agency would like to join our team and be put on our list, Upstate Electrical. I've got all their paperwork here. I just received that not too long ago. I got their insurance paperwork, their references and everything. I'm going to put this in your box for approval.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on next month's
Okay.
agenda.
Very
Is
good.
the town limited to the number of inspectors you can have? And does anyone?
I don't think
know?
so.
I
Okay,
don't think so.
We never had any limit before.
okay, okay.
The homeowners call these inspections in. We don't have anything to do with it. We just list agencies for them to call.
I see. Okay, thanks.
That's it.
Do you want to mention the fire alarm quote or you want?
No, because I don't have it in front of me.
Well, I do, and I appreciate that you find that we got it and that
I didn't print a copy off. I'm sorry.
it's okay. I now see Carl, so hello, Carl.
Hello, we arrived.
Yes. This came in this afternoon, and Carl, I'm not even sure, I can't remember if you were here signing or not to get this. Some of you might not have seen it, but there is a quote that we got to repair the fire alarm system in the town hall, which is not working and has not been operational for a while. And the total comes to about $1,307 and change. How we pay for it is something we have to look into. I don't know whether we want to take it out of this funding or we've got a grant that we're applying for. So, but that did come in, and Tom Chartrand, we don't need to get another quote or anything, right? Because it's under $3,000.
You said 1,300. No, until we get to the $3,000 mark, we can get away with one quote.
So my question to the board is, if we include this in our JCAP grant, it would not, we wouldn't need to, or we wouldn't be in position yet to authorize going forward with getting this done. But if we want to take it out of the town budget, and Tom, do we have money to cover this?
Well, as you recall, we talked about, we have about 11,000 in the buildings capital improvements account. So we have, this would be part of that line item. So bring us down to about 10,000 left in there.
So here's my thought on that, and I'm interested in the board's. If we, look, I mean, this is an expense that we should incur sooner rather than later. It's our alarm system. My thought is if we take it out of our general fund line, if we get the JCAP grant, there is a way to get reimbursed for costs that you had to expend before the grant was awarded. So there's a possibility we could get it recovered, but it seems like we should probably authorize the work to be done. But I'm curious what you guys think.
I think
Well,
it
we
needs
need
to
it.
be,
Yeah, I think,
we need to have that working.
Right. I agree.
Authorize the work to be done, is the way to go.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
I make a
Before you
motion.
do- Before you do that, okay, I just pulled up the quote on my phone. The materials and labor on that work out to be $1,300, and then there's a $504 fee for monitoring for the year. So that's going to put us up at $1,800 for the year for the fire alarm.
Where are you getting that from? Because that's not the paperwork.
Renee, I just noticed that too. It's on the
Second floor.
quotation 54981, the second page.
Yep. 3/4 of the way down. It's a $504 monitoring fee for the year.
That's for an entire year or for the balance of the year?
For 1 year. That's an annual monitoring fee. Which never had that before. From what I understand, it was dialing into somebody's house, or because 911 doesn't do that anymore.
No, we used to have a monitoring fee. That actually sounds lower than what we were paying. I think it was around $25 to $30 a month. I can go look it up. I'll get back to you in a second. I'll go look it up.
So it would be another $540 for the year.
Yeah, $504.
504 for the year,
Yes.
starting once the installation has occurred.
Yes.
I'll take that, okay.
That's using our existing system, putting new components in there. All new smoke and heat detectors, annunciators, and there's some work that has to be done in the panels. Replacement parts in the panel have to be replaced.
Well, we're gonna, are we paying if this has been broken, we're not paying a fee now, that one you're talking about, Tom?
Should,
No, we haven't been paying that for a couple of years now since it's been broken.
We're broken for 2 years?
It's at least been a
Yeah.
year.
It's been more than that, 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so that's an absolute necessity. We'll have to figure out the 504, where we put that in.
But that would come out of the building's contractual.
Okay.
We had originally had some money in there for that. I was just looking up, it looks like we were paying $153 a quarter in the past for that. Would be my
That's a lot
guess without
cheaper.
pulling a bill. So that's like $50 a month we were paying with the old company.
this is still less than that.
Yeah. Does that change anyone's,
Still gotta do it.
on authorizing?
No, it doesn't change mine. It needs
I
it.
need it. We need it.
Me neither.
So who made the motion,
Do
Ann?
I make a motion that we get a fire alarm system installed as soon as possible with this company that Bob Rodriguez has requested?
With Syracuse Time and Alarm?
Oops.
Syracuse Time and Alarm.
Okay. Not to exceed the installation and parts and whatever, not to exceed the cost and the
$1,811.
Well,
That does have the prevailing wage wording in it that they will be paying prevailing wage to their workers, correct?
here again, I haven't read through the whole thing yet. I will look into that right now.
Perhaps you should make the motion subject to that being subject to prevailing wage, the quote.
I make the motion for the subject for the prevailing quotes.
Oh, Tom,
Okay.
it does say it on this,
Prevailing.
Tom, it does say it on the service agreement. It's check prevailing wages apply. All
Okay.
billable hours invoiced.
Yep.
I
It
haven't
does
seen
say
it,
it.
so I'm trying to be careful.
No, it does
Thank
say
you,
it. I'll
Tom.
send it over.
Thanks, Tom. I still make the same motion.
Okay, so Judy's
Second.
making
I'll second it.
authorize purchase of this.
Yes.
Seconded it. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Now who do those? So, next, Tim. You want to talk about our passing this local, or,
Yes.
thank you.
So I have drafted a local law that would override the property tax cap for 2021. We need a 2/3 majority vote on this in order for it to pass. I know that we're still working on the budget and we don't know what the final number is going to be, but I would recommend that we pass the override regardless of whether we're over or under, just to be safe. Otherwise, what we would have to do in the future, and join in if you'd like, but what we'd have to do in the future would be set aside money if we go over the property tax cap by the amount that we went over, and that would take money away from future budgets. So, so I would recommend that we pass the property tax cap. My date for the public hearing was the 2nd, but I think we need, is our next meeting on the 4th, not the 2nd? So it needs to be the 4th. So Nikki, if you could just change that resolution for November 4th.
So what we need to do tonight is schedule a public hearing on the local law. to
Correct.
provide the text. Okay.
And did we normally in the past held the public hearings prior to the town board meetings?
Yes, you should.
So this one says 6:35 on it. So do we want to make it 6 o'clock, followed by, hopefully by the preliminary budget public hearing? And we can't set the preliminary budget public hearing until we've adopted the preliminary budget, but I'm just trying to think ahead that maybe we set this one for 6, followed, and then the next one to follow, and that way we can start a regular meeting at 6:30.
Oh, so you don't hold, it's custom in the town of Pompey, and I don't know this, for you to hold public hearings before the town board meeting, as opposed to, okay.
Mhm.
That's what we've usually done.
Well, that's probably, my only concern with starting it at 6 is people expect us to start at 6:30 now, and I'm just wondering if there might be people that would miss out for anyone who is interested in weighing in. So that would be my only concern. Anybody else?
There's no legal reason to hold it before the town board meeting. You can always hold it during the town board meeting if you choose to. Some towns just have functioned that way, where they would hold the public hearings before the town board meeting.
Or
I don't
have the
have-
first thing when we open the meeting on the 4th, have it the first thing.
All right,
That's what I'm thinking.
6:30.
6:30.
Fine.
Motion to override the tax cap for 6:30 on November 4th.
For a public hearing,
The
Carl?
Public hearing.
Okay.
Second,
Anybody want to second that motion?
I will.
Second. Oops.
Okay, I think Judy seconded it. Any other discussion? All those
Yeah, sounds good.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried. So Nikki, you'll need to do a legal notice on that. Okay, okay.
Hearing.
Oh, Carl, I wanted to slip you in here about the cupola, or the cupola. Can't ever get that.
Yes. We have a bid from Latosha Builders for
They're
33
quotes, Carl.
quotes from Latosha Builder for 3350 for doing the cupola. He says he'll provide the paperwork for the cetrus, everything, and he'll sign an agreement that paying prevailing wage at the contract.
And he's the lower of, you got 2 bids and he's the lower of the 2, correct?
Yes, he's the lower. I have one for 8,300 from Hogart of his building company. Yes.
5,800. Okay.
58.
Yeah, 58.
Yes. So I recommend that we award the contract if we can to Latosha Builders for 3350 to go ahead and work on the do the cupola, and it could be done, he said, in the next couple of weeks.
I'll second that.
I would include that you, when this is signed, that you write in that it's going to be subject to prevailing wage before you have him countersign,
Okay.
since
Yes.
it's not listed on this.
So that contract, any agreement, where will that come? To me, to Tim, to Carl?
Renee will be signing this contract.
Yes.
So then I need the board to authorize me to sign that, correct?
Yes.
So can
Make a
we
motion.
include that in the
Make a-
motion?
I make a
Make
motion.
motion, town supervisor sign the contract with La Tosha Builders.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The other thing I thought of on this, which we might want to do in light of how well we did with the salt barn and the insurance company, is to check with the insurance company on whether there's any coverage there, since we have switched insurance companies. There might be, I mean, the damage to the salt barn roof was weather related, correct, Tom?
Yes, wind damage.
Yeah, and I think the same applies up to the cupola, but it might not be the same, but I'm thinking we should probably check just to make sure we don't have some source of revenue that could cover that. So I'll talk to Mike about this, Latosha, when it comes in, and I can provide the insurance company with some information and see what they say. But thank you for this work, Carl. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
then-
Carl.
What? Who's saying? Tim?
It's Tim. Yeah. I've been working with, I just wanted to report that I've been working with Bob on the violations. And I did hear today from an attorney for one of them. And I'm hoping that gets resolved in the next couple of days. But do you want me to, I can call you tomorrow?
Yes, especially because I don't think I mentioned this to you, but Bob has gotten an inquiry from somebody else who wants to now do the same thing because they've seen it done here. And that's what I was afraid was going to happen, was
Yep.
there becoming a ripple effect.
So I'll call you tomorrow, Bob, and I'll call you, Renee, and I'll explain what I have been assured of.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Maybe we can avoid some legal action.
Yeah.
As far as my report goes, I just have two quick things. We are in the process of applying for a JCAP grant, which is the Justice Court Assistance Program grant. It allows the town to, actually the justices, to apply for up to $30,000 worth of certain allowable costs that would benefit their courtroom and their judicial process. So they have been working on that. Ann and I have been assisting them on the computer part. But especially Ann, that's due this Thursday, electronic submission. We've just about $30,000 worth of expenses that we could have covered under that grant. And it needs, though, to have the board authorize applying for the grant. So I'm asking the board to, if someone would make a motion that.
I'd like to make the motion to have the attorneys of the town apply for the JCAP grant.
I second it.
Second it.
And it should include that, and authorize both the justices and the town supervisor to sign any application.
And to have the justices and the town supervisor sign the application.
Thank you. So Judy seconded it. Sheila
Second
made the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the only other thing, thank you. The only other thing I have to report on is that Dave Knapp has sent me a list of the digital speed readers that that are available through state contract that we can purchase with the $25,000 that he's giving us. And so they range from between a little over 3,000 to over 7,000. He did recommend one of them, which is a little over 4,000. But Tom Purcell, I would like to share this list and the choices. There's several, there's 8 of them with you, since I think you'll probably be mostly involved with moving them when we need them moved. So the money is already guaranteed. We just have to place the order. So I don't know, Tim, do we need to do anything and make any authorization here to purchase? It's state contract, we don't need to bid it out or quotes.
No, if it's on state contract, then you can go forward, but you'd ultimately have to sign a contract, won't you?
I think it's a purchase. I think it's
You have to enter into an
intermunicipal agreement.
intermunicipal agreement.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. So Dave and I need to talk because we forgot about, I don't know if we forgot about it, but we were just like, he was.
Well,
he
that's
sent
no,
this-
that's no big deal. I can
Okay.
draft an intermunicipal agreement.
Okay, all right. So we'll talk about that tomorrow too, Tim. Okay, but thank you, Dave Knapp. We've had so many complaints about speed in the town. I actually had someone on Waterville Road again ask me about it this week, separate from some of the other people that complained about Waterville Road. And I sent them back an email and described what we were trying to do with different options than just having special details out there to enforce the law. And this person actually went online, looked up speed readers and liked the idea, thought it sounds like it's effective in curtailing speeders. So was in favor of it. So I think it's good all the way around and let's hope it helps.
On the intermunicipal agreement, Tim, the county normally draws that up and we don't have much choice in the wording.
Okay. Okay, we'll see. I will discuss it with the county attorney's office.
Okay, that's all I have. And before, we do need to continue our budget workshop that we started last week. But before we do that, Veronica, if you're back on, the only way we're doing public comment right now, since we don't have a live audience here, is through either the Zoom chat room or by posting on Facebook. And it has to be, no anonymous comments are going to be considered. So if there's anybody who's actually put their name with their question or comment, if you could share any of those with us,
Yep.
that would be the time.
I see one, I guess there's just one on Facebook. Chris, I hope I get his last name right. Chris Campo, or it could be.
Yes, it's Campo.
Chris Campo. I'd like to hear what prevailing wage for that trade is and why it is used instead of best bid.
Prevailing wage.
Artran, do you want to answer that?
Prevailing wage is set by New York State for all municipal contracts. They there's a set of rates and a set of specifications for many different jobs within New York State, and they change by areas. So even though we're looking for the best value on any project we do, they have to pay their employees whatever the state says is the correct rate for that position. Unless it's a sole proprietor. If one person or two partners own a company and they have no employees, then we don't worry about prevailing wage because it's not handled as wages, it's handled as a draw from the business. So that's the only exception that we could get away with, not having them certify that they're paying the prevailing wage on the job.
They're following up with a additional comment. I know what it means. I wondered what it was for this job, this particular job that you were talking about.
Oh, the monetary. He wants to know the monetary amount.
The fire alarm.
At this point, I don't know because we don't know that until we enter into the contract and get the numbers off of the prevailing wage website. It's at I think it's labor.newyork.gov or something like that we go in and open up the contract for it.
The quote we got includes, I would take it from the language that Ann mentioned, it would reflects prevailing wage rate.
Yes, and the companies that do this type of work know what the prevailing wage rate is for their type of work. I don't think you would expect me to know what every job classification across the state is the prevailing
Oh,
wage.
but Tom,
for.
you know everything.
I know a lot of other things, but not that one.
Come on, Tom.
Well, all I have to say about prevailing wage is municipalities are required to vendors use it if they're providing a service, and it's almost always more expensive, correct? Yeah, so we have no choice.
Every trade is different. Every trade price, their scale is different. That includes all their benefits, their holiday, their sick pay, everything. And they have to disclose that for us to pay them.
And things like when you do the roofing job on the salt shed, if there's a bad piece of plywood up there, the person that repairs the plywood may be paid a different price or a different wage than the person that's nailing down the shingles as well. So even within that, there's different classifications.
That's correct.
So I think the regular part of this meeting is going to end. We are going back into the budget workshop. If for those of you who did not join us last week, which is probably most anybody that's listening today, it was a 4-hour plus marathon. It was an extremely lengthy, difficult process. Continues to be a difficult process, and we're back at it tonight, and we are working very hard to do what's best for this town. I can say that with certainty for all of these board members and Tom. So the rest of you, which I think is Veronica, Nikki, and Tim, the privilege, whatever you want to call it, of not having to stay on this call. Bob too, I think. Well, So you may depart, and the rest of us will continue working. But
We will hopefully we will have a couple of motions though that will need to go in the minutes. So
Yes.
I will write those
Yes.
down if Nikki's not with us.
You were talking, Bob, and my internet went down. Bob, I got a great compliment today on some work you're doing on Gates Road for a new house. The owner's very happy with you. I just wanted to let you know that.
Good to hear, Sheila.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. Bye. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. So Tom,
I am going to do my share screen right now before Veronica hops out, just in case it doesn't work and she's got to change something.
I'm here for you, Tom. I'm here for you.
Okay, does everybody see a spreadsheet?
yes.
Okay, we are
How do I
good.
get
Thank
rid
you,
of-
Veronica.
Yep.
Thank you, Veronica. How do I get rid of us on this so I can see the whole thing?
Well, my screen shows I've got a little bit of space on both sides of mine, even with the pictures there.
Oh, I got you guys. Goodbye. You're all gone.
So you should get over to,
Renee,
What?
if you see how there's little boxes up on the left where
Yes.
hit the furthest left one.
Yes, and it takes everybody away?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you, Veronica.
Okay.
Okay.
all right, so I give us back a quick big picture recap here. We were working on the preliminary budget the last time we talked. And what I'm showing is we got down to $2.69 per thousand. And that resulted in a 22 cent per thousand tax increase. And we are still $48,606 over the tax cap at this point.
So can I just share, Tom, what we talked about this morning?
Definitely.
Was that the expenses that we have in this budget at this point this year are $120,000 or so over last year. And that the tax cap would allow us $71,000 of that 120, which is how we get the 48 that we're over, if I'm saying that right.
That's correct. That's a good, simple explanation.
Wow. Learning, Tom. Good. I got a good teacher. Okay. Just because we really struggled, I struggled trying to figure this out. It's not easy. So where do we go from here? I will follow your lead, Tom.
Well, I guess my feeling was, is there any areas that we want to address right away that I know several people were going back and talking about different budget changes. Is there any areas that we want to address first and then go through the general and highway fund line by line to see if there's any more adjustments we want to make?
Ann came up, Ann, do you have your list?
I do. I've got a list that I came up with and talking with Renee. One is the $5,000 for the Justice Court audit.
Okay,
I
I'm
would-
heading over there.
I would think with the checklist, we would be able to go through and do that.
Okay, that was the first one I had in blue that we wanted to talk about. So we're looking at removing that to 0.
And do we need 3 people to approve it? Is that the rule?
Generally, I'd like 3 positives, 3 head shakes.
I
Yeah,
will
we-
approve that.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
yes.
Okay, I hear.
Oh,
4.
yes.
I hear
Yes.
Sounded
5.
good to me.
Another one I thought of was the codification. There's like 5 laws that we haven't had codified. 2 of them are zone changes. There's 2 tax cap, and they're nothing major, and they are on the website where people could see, what the codes are. And that's $1,200.
Oh, good, Annie.
I would approve of reducing the budget by taking.
I-
the 12.
I would too.
Yes. we'll-
I'm
we'll
I
do
good.
would
that.
too.
I've talked to Nikki, and she will not go to the training. If there is any training next year, I've talked to the head of the town clerks. They think it's going to be virtual, so we could take out the training out of Nikki's.
Okay, that would be about 900 is what I showed in my notes.
Yep, and that's what I had written down.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Good with it.
Yep.
The workshops, you had $2,000 if they're virtual. I think we could take that out and have people. I don't know the numbers, Tom, of any of this.
Okay, so the workshops, we had 2,000 in there. Are you planning on taking them all out or just reducing this number?
I had talked about 0, but
Take it
it's whatever anybody wants.
I think
Take it all
0.
out.
Talked about that last meeting and we said that we would just take it out anyway.
0.
Yeah.
I would remove it.
0.
Zero.
Just did that.
Okay, celebrations, I thought if we could reduce it down to, I think it's 1,000, move it down to 500. If we have anything next year.
What, didn't we say last meeting that we only spent like 6 or something like that? What did we
Yep, so
spend
I'm-
last meeting? We said something about that.
Yeah,
It
we
was over
spent-
600,
Yeah.
so we thought move it to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good by me.
Makes good sense.
The other one kind of, I think, is something for Tom Purcell, the cemeteries. I think it was $500 that was in there. If we could cut that in half, maybe. I don't know. That's the last one I don't know really know about.
Would
Yeah,
that
we
be a
haven't-
mowing contract?
No, it's for repairs of the lawnmowers and
Oh, all right, Tom. I wasn't
we-
sure. So I'm not sure on that. I need advice on that.
I mean, we do have a new push mower that we bought recently, so I mean, we probably could cut that in half for just for oils and blades and belts and whatever we may need to repair the lawnmowers that mow the cemeteries.
Sounds good.
And let's do 250 there, if everybody's. for that.
I agree.
250.
250.
And that's the only cuts I could find when I went through it.
Okay, let me go back up to the big top of mine and just make sure that I didn't have any other notes for you. Okay, so my notes were on the independent account auditor. We took care of that.
Yep.
Okay. We did the town clerk, which brought that down. We had 5,700. We're now at 4,800. Okay. Are we, the 3,000 that we put in there for attorney was another area I was concerned about. Are we thinking that we're going to have the labor situation resolved? But if we go with a 1-year contract, are we going to spend 3,000 again next year? That was one of the ones I wasn't sure on.
No.
I think that we need to be prepared to have some legal advice on the collective bargaining agreement, because you are right about the 1-year contract. We're going to be right back at it. I don't know how.
Okay.
I don't know. What have the bills been so far? Has he billed us?
I think we're at I think we spent 2,000 total. Let me grab the report. Actually, I got it up on the other computer. It's right quicker. Oh, that's right. We combine that. It's all on one line. Let me grab the numbers here. Yeah, it looks like he hasn't billed us this year. He only billed us last year. I think he billed us 1,000 last year. Let me double check that. Take me a second to open up last year.
I feel like you don't want to touch that because that's such an unknown.
I know, that's,
You know, that to me, it doesn't sit right to touch that. It's just an unknown and we don't know what's going to happen this coming year with all that. It's going to come to fruition, don't you think?
Yeah, it'd be better if he billed us for some of it this year.
yeah. Maybe we'll have to ask him what his hours have been so far so he can bill us.
Yeah.
Might be a good idea. And the other thing I want to note, but since we're talking about this particular line item, our law firm, the Baldwin Sutton Teskey, has offered to reduce their cost by $5,000 if we need it. Tim basically said to me, you guys need it, take it. If you know, I feel like they've been doing a really good job, so I don't want to do that, but I think we should keep that in the back of our minds that they've offered. And if we need to, we could perhaps some, if not all, but I just throw that out.
That's sort of also one of those things that it's an unknown, you know, you don't know what a town's gonna, so I'm not like.
Well, but they charge us,
I know,
so
but I feel like we shouldn't mess with that line. We should leave it, you know, we don't know.
Last resort, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
Last
Right.
resort.
yeah.
Good idea if we need it.
Yeah.
The next, let's see, I think that was all I saw on that page. We talked about doing the 3 heat pumps and the windows. We don't have any updates on numbers for that, so do we want to keep those at the 20,000 for the heat pumps?
Yeah.
Well, the thought, I think we have money in the JCAP grant to cover half the cost of 1 heat pump, like $10,000. So,
Okay.
but that money won't become available until no later than March 31st of next year. So if we needed to replace a heat pump before then, we'd probably have to like switch some money around until we could get that money. But I'm wondering how you feel about relying on the grant for half of that. amount.
In a perfect
Well-
world, it'd be great if we knew we were gonna get it. You know?
Well, I don't think the 20,000 is enough to do the whole project. That's,
No,
that
it's one.
was just our starter money.
It's one heat pump, but I did talk to John Shaheen, and we don't need to do all three at once. You can do one at a time. So that would give us one heat pump to install and get us going. And I haven't brought it up yet, and I don't know when you want me to, but I'd like to discuss at some point the other revenue sources that I've explored since last Monday, which are significant. But it's not going to change what we do tonight because I don't think we can make those decisions. But it could impact the budget process when we get to the public hearing on the preliminary. So, I mean, there's quite a few revenue options available to cover these types of expenses. And that's where it gets tricky. And I think I was talking to Sheila earlier about we need to sit down and look at these revenue streams and strategically plan like how we use them to our benefit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can talk about them now, but and maybe it would help just to keep them in mind as we go forward. But if that's okay with everyone.
Okay.
Two of them we've already discussed, which is Dave Knapp is giving us the $25,000 towards the traffic control devices. JCAP would give us $30,000 that we intend to use for improvements to the town hall building and the interior and the exterior. And I'm not going to go into all of the specifics. I contacted Assemblyman Al Sturpey's office. He has $100,000 in what he calls a multimodal fund. It's a state fund that can be used for road work, roads, streets, sidewalks, drainage, bridges, culverts, all the kinds of things that the highway department could really benefit from. It has to be spent within 3 years. It's a one-page application to get the money. The process might take a bit of time, but if we got it next year, it's a reimbursement grant. And the money, Tom, you were impressed with how quickly they reimbursed their claims. Is that correct?
Yeah, the multimodal project, if this was your first road project of the year, if you were able to get it done by, say, June, you would probably have your money by October or November.
Which is really fast for the state.
Well, that was previous to COVID. I mean, I haven't done one
know.
since COVID. That was in 2019. Atisco finished the project, I think, in June. They paid the bill in July. They had reimbursement by, I believe it was the end of October.
So, I mean, there's many things that I'm sure the highway department could do. I'm throwing this out there, but I'm also just reminding you guys, we're not gonna like make any decisions about use of this money tonight because it's all come up within the last week and I barely have gotten all of this information together for tonight. So it will be, we can go through all of this and look at it between now and November's board meeting. I got unsolicited today, in addition to Al's offer of $100,000. Senator Rachel May called me and has aid to municipalities money that would require us to spend at least $50,000. There's a minimum on that. And I told her I didn't think that would be a problem because I think we have plenty of infrastructure that needs attention. So, but Tom, again, if you'd weigh in on that money, you weren't as impressed with that, the way they do that money.
Well, I would imagine that this money is probably going to flow through the Dormitory Authority of New York State. So our neighbors in Lafayette got awarded a $50,000 grant for their highway garage, which they built in 2016, I believe. They still have not received the funds, even though they spent the money back then.
Oh,
Oh, ouch.
The town of Spafford currently has 2 DASNY grants out there. One of them was to replace all of the heaters in their town hall, replace some windows, carpets, those type of things. So it was town hall oriented. I believe it was 65,000. They still don't have authorization to spend the money yet.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
And they also have one they're under DEC order to build a salt shed. And that one, I think, was 2018 when they were told that they would have that DASNY grant. They still don't have authorization to spend the money. So DASNY grants sound wonderful, but they take an awful long time to come to fruition. The village of Tully had a DASNY grant that was in combination with the town of Tully. It was, I believe it was 650,000. That they started the project in 2014. In 2019, they did get the funding, but they spent $3.2 million. So,
Wow.
Wow.
yeah.
so I'm not a big fan of DASNY grants. The administrator of it, which will probably be Renee, will resubmit maybe 18, 20 times before she gets an authorization to spend.
yikes.
My only thought on that, given the delay, is if there were some expense that we knew several years from now, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, we're gonna need, like the town hall roof. Doesn't need it now, but it's coming. I mean, if that could be something we could perhaps apply to use the money for, knowing that we're not going to do that for several years. And then maybe it would come around the same time as
We needed it.
so anyway, this is where I'm talking about the need to strategically plan. There's too many variables and too many options here. And a lot of them would allow us to cover similar costs, but it all depends on the logistics and the specifics of these. The other two I want to mention are sewer consolidation lease that we just entered into with Onondaga County that where they took over our sewer lines, the maintenance of them, and they're the tenant, we're the landlord for 40 years. It has a provision in there where the town can apply for $200,000. It's not a grant.
I think you said it was a green infrastructure improvement.
Yes, we can apply to, and the county would pay us up to $200,000 to be used for some sort of a green energy project. So I called the county attorney's office and spoke with the attorney for the WEP, which is the water, what does WEP stand for? Water and
Environmental.
Protection.
thank you. And they would be the ones to apply. But there is it's a very simple process because we basically write them a letter and say, these are the projects that we think could fit within green energy. I can think of like 3 right off the top of my head that would work. And I told them to Ben and he said those would absolutely fit within this. WEP does the work, town does not. I don't know if that makes Tom Purcell happy or not, but that's the one restriction they place on it is they would do all the subcontracting. I don't necessarily, that's a bad thing, but
Beggars can't be choosers.
right. But I mean, we could perhaps apply to them for the heat pumps to replace the furnaces in the town hall, the LED lights that would allow us to get the clean energy designation, for our lighting system in the town.
Can't we go through NYSERDA
for that? Do we go through NYSERDA for the light bulbs and stuff and changing?
It's
them
not
out?
NYSERDA, but they're the ones that will give us, there's somebody else. It's another something. There's something. But anyway, there's projects that would fit within that we could use that money for. So there was one other thing about that lease, but it's escaping me right now. And then last but not least, I talked to Tom Purcell. We've been talking about the scrap metal proceeds. It's not a lot, but it's still a revenue. And there is a significant accumulation out in the behind the highway garage. I shouldn't tell you what it is, but anyway, just realized that it was sort of silly of me to broadcast that. So don't anybody be thinking about doing anything with that pile. Anyway, Tom is thinking what he would like to do going forward, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, let me step in here, is to get a scrap metal company to come and leave us a dumpster. Gets filled up. Once it's filled, they can come take it away, and the funds would go into the general fund. Because that's how it, and according to Tim, that's where the money, any revenue has to go, is into the general fund. So is that, Tom, am I stating that correctly? Just as far as the scrap metal, and then I just wanted those 6 things to be on the table, to know that we do have some revenue that might be able to offset some of this, but we're certainly not in a week's time with able to make decisions. I'll have to.
Well, the thing with the grants is you're not really supposed, if you're not guaranteed the grant money, you don't put them into your budget as a revenue and expenditure. You create at the time when you get the grant awarded, then you appropriate those funds into your budget.
Okay. So it might help us next year,
Yep.
is what you're saying.
Yes.
If we go forward with many of these things. The $200,000 sewer consolidation lease money, we should absolutely jump on it as soon as we can. Nobody has applied yet. We would be the first. That's the other piece I've forgotten. So I would love to pursue that and put it to good use.
Good idea.
Sooner the better.
Absolutely, Carl.
Sooner
All
the
right, so
better.
I did look it up. We spent $1,000 in 2019 on the labor services for the Teamsters contract. We have not been billed anything this year. So I think that kills that one. So the next item I had on my list was the under the central communications, which is the monthly service charge for the offsite backup and virus. We talked about it's 200, or I guess it was 199. Renee and I have reviewed the billing, and we've decided that 213 is the actual monthly billing. So that 2,400 should actually be 2,600 that I originally budgeted. Is that okay with everybody to move that back up so we're not short there? A couple $100 bucks?
Yep.
Definitely.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay. Let's see now. We'll take care of that one. Put that one in.
So
All right,
Tom,
right
can we go?
on my
Oh,
page
go ahead.
here too. So the next one that I came up with was to revisit the police and constable to see if there was any updates there. Or are we sticking with the 22,000?
Well, I think we definitely are not going to, we could reduce it even more, in my opinion. I spoke with Judge Pavone today. He called me back. I had reached out to him last week about using the court security that the county uses. It's a contract, you would contract with individuals. It's not something like the sheriff's where we contract with the sheriff. There would be individuals who are interested. Significantly less money than what we are paying for sheriff's deputies. And the one thing Judge Pavone said to me, and it had a ring of truth to it, is it's really not a great idea to have one of the law enforcement agencies that makes arrests in your jurisdiction being the security for the courts. It doesn't really look good. And I completely get that. But so it's still up in the air, but as far as how we would go about this, he was going to reach out to the connections he has with that group and see if there were individuals that would be interested in doing the work out here, and cut in half, more than in half, the amount of cost for the court security. So that's all the extra I have to report on it right now.
Did we used to do that up in the town, Carl?
It was a
And
Long
constable.
ago.
Yeah.
Constables.
Though, it was different, and they were paid very low wages. I mean, they basically did it as a public service. I mean, it was like,
okay.
I want to say $10 an hour or something crazy. But there's a whole training process that goes through, you have to go through with them, and it's expensive. And then you have to get them equipment or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
The county, if we can get them, it depends. You know, there might not be. I think some of it is location. Like Manlius uses them, but there's a couple that live in Manlius, so it makes it easy for them. So
Okay.
but you kind of look into it and let me know. But I don't know what all of you feel about leaving that amount in that line.
Seems a lot.
It's been a lot for a lot of years, right, Annie?
Yes.
Right, right.
Definitely reduce it some.
Okay.
I'm all for that.
I'm all for it.
Go.
I don't know how much though. I can't be the holder of that. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
Could we do a shared service with the two that are down in Manlius, because, you know, and figure out the cost of what they're using now? Can we find out from the town of Manlius?
well, I have their contract for
So
2020.
what-
And for 2020, they pay them $30 an hour.
Okay,
We currently pay $82.41 an hour for a
Yeah.
minimum of 4 hours. I'm trying to see if, I think there is a minimum number of hours, but I'm reading it as I'm talking.
so maybe we make some phone calls and see if we could do some kind of a shared situation, if their nights are different than ours, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a good idea. And so I think that, I don't know where you want to go with what we've got in here right now, but I definitely think that it could be even less than the 22,000. Even with, what I would like to keep in here still is, consider is, I think the special details where we do use the sheriffs when we request it are good for those areas that need targeting, where, our community is concerned about something going on, whether, especially if it's criminal, but if it's traffic related or whatever, I still think we need some money in here to be able to use them. And Tom, I don't have it right. I couldn't remember, where do we stand with what can you figure out, and you probably can't off the top of your head, the special detail? Oh, wait a minute, I might. No, I don't.
I was gonna say that what's the cost of like one special detail,
Well,
a couple of them.
Again, you have to do 4 hours minimum at 82 and change. And then they usually go out at least 2
So it's
weeks.
probably like $700 each time, roughly, right?
Probably closer to 800 each
Yeah.
4-hour
So,
detail.
because I'm familiar with signing a few of those bills or whatever,
Yeah.
but, so,
We're at about $11,000 through August,
Wow.
But that's really without the courts. So,
and that's without the courts, yeah.
yeah, we have not had court. So they have not been coming out for those 4 hours every week for 4 weeks of every month. So if you factored that in, it certainly bumps it up. But the special details really didn't even start. We did some on Pompey Center Road south of 20, and we've done some on Watervale, some on Broadfield over near Whetstone and that area. I think they were on Sweet Road in 91 in the hamlet, but I got to double check on that. But those are the areas I made requests for because that's where I was getting complaints. So they've done some special details, but it's, I don't know. I don't know where to go with this right at the moment because it's still in flux. I was hoping to have more information, but that's just fine. I know.
I feel like I'd be happy to make a phone call to help you or, you know, whatever you want to do. I don't care, but
Okay.
I feel like maybe we should talk to Manlius. Maybe we could see, and if we could get some kind of guarantee, I'd feel a little better, but I don't want us to run out of money in that result.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, look how much we've come down, which is amazing, and we know we could, but then you get into a little predicament if we're short and
Right, right.
And just so you know, I think I proposed that 22,000 that's in there right now. I literally just said, put a number in there for, as a holding place, because I knew we weren't gonna, I really didn't think we would go over that, no way, after what we've like reduced it by this year.
So Matt, why don't we just do 20 just to say, well, yeah, we shaved a little off, you know,
Right.
is that safe?
That's good.
I feel like that might be
Okay.
safe. Let's do 20.
Okay, 20,000.
Sure.
So 20,000.
Okay. Okay, the next item was the entry signs. Are we still standing that we would like to do 4 new entry signs?
Yes.
Entry
Tom, did you get a chance to talk to get a quote on that? Is Tucker on?
I did not get a quote because she wants to know, which I know now that we got to replace the post as well, because they've been there for 30 some years. But she wants to know if we want to change the design at all because they've been there since, I forget when they put in the mid 80s or late 80s. So she's got a lot of questions yet in design, if you guys
Okay.
want to change anything. And there's one sign up in Pompey Hill in the park is a 4x8 sheet.
Oh, right.
And that says Pompey Lions on it, or welcome to Pompey from the Pompey Lions Club. So I don't know who owns that or what you want to do with that sign. So we got a lot of questions to
Well,
answer
that's
there.
not our sign, is it? If it's Pompey Lions. We wouldn't be responsible for that sign, would we?
It's the same decor and design as the smaller ones that we have for the entrance of town. So I'm not sure
Okay.
who purchased all them signs. The Lions Club had something to do with all the signs, I think, originally. Do you remember, Ann, who,
I don't.
okay.
Sorry.
I know Nancy Edwards was very well involved back in them signs were designed and made.
Can they help us pay for some of the signs? Tom?
From a legal standpoint, there could be donations or there could be in-kind services given to the town for signs,
Right.
for
Well, I think
basically
if
for
it-
anything.
That's true.
Okay.
If their name is on it.
Yeah, they would want to put their name on it, so you got to be comfortable that it's an
Right.
organization that you're, I guess, you know, there's certain organizations you may not want contributing and having their name on your sign, and you don't want to make it look like it's a
Right,
advertisement for every organization. That's what you got to be careful about.
right, right.
And I know at least the Fabius Pompey School District is interested in updating some of the information. I forget which ones of those signs has some of the sports achievements on them.
I think one of them is a soccer, and there was also a baseball one on most of them.
Yeah, so
So we were originally at 8 signs, correct?
Yes, and we've reduced it to 4 signs at this point.
So why don't we do 2, and then if we have some extra money, we do more. I
I
don't
think
know.
that's smart
Just
because
a
it's not,
suggestion.
Well, that's
But I-
if we're at $1,000, and that was, remember I told you we were at 900 in Lafayette several years ago. So,
Per sign, Tom?
yeah,
So we probably wouldn't even have enough for 2 signs.
not if you cut it to 2,000, you may not. You may have 1.5.
Well,
Okay,
Nancy,
how about
Nancy,
2,500? I don't know.
Nancy
Cut it
said
down
if
to
we-
3,000 and we'll get as many as we can.
What did Tom, what are you trying to say?
Nancy said if we keep them, relatively the same size, she thinks they'll be under $1,000 a piece. So
Oh, good.
Okay.
We're good. We're good.
I like the sign design that we have. I think it's classic and it's representative
Yeah.
of Pompey. I personally wouldn't change the sign. I'm not
Sure.
for that. I like that old school sign that we have. So if she can do that, then, but maybe we just do a couple this year and put a budget of 2,500 in. And then if we have extra money, then, move that way. What do you think, you guys?
Yeah,
That's
that
good.
makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
I say that let's do that because it's the one sign that absolutely needs attention is the one on 91 coming north.
Yep.
So if we can get that one done, and I feel like I started this sign thing a while ago, but that's the one that needs attention.
I brought it up a couple years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody
Sounds
happy with
good.
2,500?
Yes.
Yeah, sign
Yes.
stays the same.
Okay. I think, let's see, I don't think there was a whole lot of anything on the next page here. Renee, you had mentioned you were going to reach out again on the bus trips for the senior citizens, but I think we pretty much decided to leave it alone.
I'm not touching that. That seems to be a sensitive thing. And so I think that, there are seniors. The only reason I even brought it up was because they didn't do the things that we paid for this year. So I thought maybe we could get a credit for next year like we did for the pool, for the swim program. But I mentioned it to the program coordinator and it didn't sort of go over well.
Okay, the next one, I think Carl and I talked about it, was the hallway repair over at the schoolhouse, and we haven't gotten any update on a number for that yet. You said Higer didn't have time to get you a quote, right?
Right. When the snow's on the ground, he'll be around and we'll get a quote then.
All right, so I think we should probably leave the 7,000 in there. Is that your feeling, Carl?
Yeah, yes, it stays. Definitely stays.
No way of cutting it, huh?
No.
Okay,
Did we, the control of dogs?
Yeah.
control of dogs, yep. I'm sorry, I went by that one. I thought we had resolved anything with that.
Well, not really, because I reached out, I did call the SPCA. I did speak to the chief investigator who's in charge of our area. I asked him I would like to know the number of calls that we have here in the last 3 years. So I asked him for this year, last year, and the year before. I haven't gotten that information yet. I mentioned to him that I felt like as a new supervisor, it was my due diligence to look into whether or not we're getting our money's worth, because $4,000 for dog control is a lot of money.
Right.
And he got it. I mean, he understood, and he's supposed to be getting me that information. In the meantime, Judy gave me some information about a dog, the way Lafayette does their animal control, and a person over there that is interested in perhaps picking up the work in Pompey. And if it could save us money on that line, and it's a person who comes well recommended by one of their town board members, it might be worth looking into. But again, I got the information when yesterday, Judy?
Yes. Yep. That's where I got
I
it.
haven't had a chance to look through that. I haven't got the information from the SPCA, but I think $4,000 is a lot of money. I felt when I talked to the chief investigator over there, he said, we've already gotten the contract. I've gotten it in the mail for next year, that they're not raising their rates and because of COVID, but he said that it's expensive, and I don't doubt it is. I just said to him, I have to know that it's worth the expense for us to do that. The animal cruelty line, I don't think I would want to touch, because I do think that we need them to come out if we have situations where there's animal abuse allegations. But that $4,000, I would like to reduce, and if they want our business and whatever, then we give it to them or we go elsewhere. And that's just my thought on it, and I might be being short-sighted, so somebody can chime in on this.
Well, I can tell you that the dog control officer in Lafayette gets paid $6,720, and his deputy gets paid an additional $2,700.
And she's the one that's interested.
He's the one that's interested, the deputy.
And we have a considerably higher population than the town of Lafayette, and considerably more properties that would potentially have dogs, so.
I'm just saying, I'd like, that's one, I don't know.
Yeah.
Been looking into it, I don't have.
Even if she agreed to do it for what she's doing the deputy for in Lafayette, that would be about $3,375 with salary and employee benefits, and then you would also have to add on to that any mileage you were paying. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of mileage.
It might not be worth it.
Okay.
And the other thing I didn't know is if there's a way to do, and Tom, you might know this if you've got in some of your other towns, does anybody do it per call, a cost per call? So
All of them keep somebody on either through the SPCA. I think I have 3 or 4 that are doing SPCA. The rest have a dog control officer who gets a annual salary, whether they pick up 1 or 1,000 dogs.
Oh,
do
dear.
the others pay the same to the SPCA that we do?
I think Tully pays a little bit more than you do. I guess I'd have to look that up and see exactly.
What about anybody paying less?
No, nobody pays less, I don't think.
That's a sticky one.
That's
Better leave it.
interesting.
So that's the
Yeah.
information I have for the board. What do we want to do?
Yeah, Lafayette, or Tully pays $4,500, it looks like, for dog control, plus they also pay the cruelty.
I think we need to wait and see.
Leave the 4,000 there.
I'm
Let's
not
leave
sure
it
you're gonna
for
do it
now.
for less than 4,000 if
No.
you're hiring a individual and you're gonna pay a mileage.
I think we have to leave it there.
Yeah, I
Leave
do
it.
too. Don't think we have a clear enough answer. Or-
Yeah.
Clear here.
And just so you all know too, just to go back, it's not changing it by much, if anything, but the public information line, Tom, the 1480.4. Veronica, I talked to her after our budget workshop last week, and she had come in with a proposal that was significantly higher than that, and she has lowered it to $64.50.
So do you want to add the $50 into
I'm
that
thinking
line?
I would like to, because she's going to work with us, and I think that's the sacrifices people are making are pretty significant. So if we could add $50 there, guys, would that be okay?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, can I just ask a question, because I don't know, and I've always wondered this since I got on the board. Honestly, with the engineering contract, so what was, I don't have it in front of me, last year's budgeted number was 25,000. What was the year prior to that? Can you?
I think we've been budgeting 25,000 for several years, but let me bring it up. Hang on just a second.
Can you tell me like the expenditure for like, say, the last 3 years? I don't have.
I can tell you because it's on our little Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it was on the Excel spreadsheet I sent everybody, but I can bring
In
it up here too.
2018, it was 26, they budgeted 26, well, they moved money into that budget. It was 20,000, but they moved, it was 26,100. Sorry, Tom, I preempt you.
Nope,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
And then
3,600 is for the MS4 program. And then for the salt study up in the hamlet was $2,100. So the rest of it was O'Brien and Gear Engineering.
And the salt in the MS4 pretty much stay the same, correct?
Yeah, that's been running 2,000 to 2,500 depending on what's going on. And I think it's going to be less than that this year because I think they missed 1 quarter of testing.
So the last 2 years, it was only 20,000. In both years, they added significant money to that line to bring it up in 2018 to 26,100 to cover costs and up to 29,400 last year to cover costs.
Yeah.
And this year so far, though, the amount that's been expended out of that line is only, I just looked at it from today's thing. It was like, was it 12,000? What was it?
For
12,000.
engineering,
Yeah,
yeah, almost 16,000 total.
okay.
So, yeah, okay, never mind.
And that's only through July, no, it's through August 10th. So you have a couple of bills that were in the pile tonight. I don't have them in front of me, but I'm pretty sure
So by
they're
the time we get to
1,000.
the end of the year, it's gonna be 25,000.
Oh, I
Probably,
think it'll probably be more at the rate we're going.
right.
And you just authorized them to do the study to get the bid package together for the roof on the salt shed. So I'm sure that's a couple $1,000s.
Okay.
So we
I
can't
don't-
touch that.
It was a good thought though, Sheila.
Well, I mean, a few years ago, it was just a question of, oh my God, that's so much money, in a budget. And over the years, I've somewhat followed where all the money's going, but, does it ever back off? And it doesn't appear to be that it
Yeah.
backs off at all. So, okay,
Probably won't in the future neither.
yeah.
So Tom, I have a question for you on the roofing for the salt barn. Is that, if you go to that central garage line, which on your thing is 107, it says $20,000, is that for the salt barn or is that for the other roof, the main roof?
Our discussion was $10,000 for the main garage roof and $10,000 in case we're not covered totally by the insurance for the salt shed. But we're going to get the salt shed done first. So if the salt shed ends up being 17,000 of it, we're not going to get we're only going to be able to do a little more patching on the garage. And
Well,
I
and
think
some
that's
of
what the
the-
depreciation number was
It was
7,000.
16, it was
Yeah.
16 and change. And some of the money that I discussed in terms of, that we need to sort of strategically plan about if we're going to apply, could go to repairing or replacing the highway garage roof and that highway garage door, that open door, which is falling apart too. So I just wondered what the 20,000, I couldn't remember. So we don't want to touch that either.
Okay, so I don't think, okay, so we've already been through the next page. I'm gonna scroll down. So we dealt with zoning last time, I think pretty thoroughly, planning, environmental control, the trash. I don't think there was any other changes to that. So the new bottom line, where the original budget said 1,735 is the 1,677,710 now.
Can I ask why we added, this is a small amount. I didn't know you were going to do that, start that, Tom. We added $100 to cover the mowing at the landfill. Is there a reason why or is that just a typo?
No, we talked about that. We haven't ever increased that. It's always been $500 per mowing 4 times a year. And that $525 would be an appropriate increase to cover that next year.
Did somebody ask for that?
No, Tom and I discussed it. That's what
Oh.
we felt was appropriate.
Okay.
Tom, you're still on, right? Did you have any further comments?
No, that's exactly what we discussed. I mean, the cost of fuel and everything's gone up over the years and he's been doing it for that price for a long time, so.
So Renee,
Yes, Sheila.
the firemen down in Manlius, they reduced 10,000 this year.
Yes, yes.
So how do we do, can we go down? Can I go knock on their door?
Yes. Stop
Say
it.
thank you.
I mean, I
Stop.
don't know if anybody's done it, but knock, knock.
I was impressed. They came in at 10,000 less than last.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just want to also say the other smaller fire departments didn't raise anything either. I mean, they didn't raise theirs.
Right.
Now,
I
so,
know.
you know, everybody's been trying to toe the line this year.
Yeah,
It's a tough year.
I know. So you haven't talked to them, you haven't talked to the Manlius then?
No,
Okay,
no.
It's actually administrated through the village. I'm not sure how much the fire department itself actually has input on their budget. It's a village, it's
So
as
village
part
is-
of the village budget. So I don't know whether the savings came by the village making a across the board decision or something that was cut out of the fire budget down there.
so maybe we'll find that out.
Yeah, your best contact would be the village clerk in Manlius.
Okay. I
Thanks.
think I asked this last year because I was like, oh my God, that number's ginormous, you know, and I get it to a degree. But it's, you know, it's a
It is.
heavy thing for the taxpayers. So. Okay,
So then we'd also talked about the sale of scrap as a revenue item in the general fund. So we're not talking about the scrap pile that's out there right now unless we're not planning on selling it until 2021. And we're looking for a number there.
I have no clue, Tom.
Okay. Tom, help us.
Give us input.
I don't know what the steel's bringing right now, but we do have quite a bit accumulated. Obviously, we haven't taken in since March of 19. And over to the old landfill, we have all the pipes that came out of the Golf Road project that need to be scrapped out as well. So, but they put a
Tom,
gas on it.
are you thinking about getting that dumpster before you turn it in? So it might not be till next year. You want to get it in before the snow? Turn it
I
in.
would definitely I would like to clean that bin up out back because that's in our loading area, sort of, so. But I still have to still have to check into the dumpsters and see what kind of cost that's gonna occur, you know, because they'll provide us with a dumpster, but obviously they're gonna charge us a fee for hauling it out there and
Yeah.
get rid of it, so.
Right.
Will they charge us for having it sitting there too for a period of time?
No, no.
We're bringing it out, okay. I have my own pile to contribute, so let me know. Bring it over.
Well, our sale of scrap in December of 2018 only netted us $294. So I don't think we want a big number in here.
No,
no.
but how
But
much,
if you'd like a
how much-
placeholder, if anybody's wants to give me a number,
$1,000?
1,000.
Carl,
1,000.
that was more than we brought in a whole year in 2018.
Back to 500.
500.
is the price of scrap lower now?
Yes.
Right now it is.
So 300.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's just I don't want to put it in there because it was such an issue here. And there is money, it is revenue. So we should reflect it in the budget.
So I
400.
heard that the 300 was the sale of scrap.
Yep.
I can agree with that.
That's good.
300. 300 it
Okay.
is.
All right. We don't really have any other set revenues in the general fund. So I think we're pretty much done with the general fund at this point.
Okay.
So that brings us to the highway. I'll get there. And Tom, I think they had asked you if there was any areas you felt we might be able to address.
Yep, I was looking at the highway repairs. get to that page.
Yeah, it's at the top of 7, TB7.
I thought maybe instead of asking for 290, I could knock off 10 grand and go down to 280.
Wow.
Oh. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah,
That's a
thanks,
good move.
Tom.
You're welcome.
There's so little room in your budget for any spare.
Yeah, that was a tough decision to make because we got cut with chips this year, and I just hope they don't cut anymore next year. So, but there's wiggle room there, so I figured nobody likes to see taxes go up too much. So,
Thank you.
And many thanks, Tom.
you're welcome.
And I don't think the rest of the budget, there's really much we can deal with unless we're gonna reduce something in the drainage districts, but I think those are priorities to get those projects started.
Yeah, and Tom, the only question I have is on TB10 on preserved drainage, because they're so anxious to get moving on stuff. Could we up that to 20,000?
Well, I think,
And I know
let me
you
look
said
that up again. I thought I'd looked that up for you before and
said we had
we,
48,000 sitting there or something.
yeah, that's gonna give us 58,000, but let me double check and make sure that number's still accurate.
I'm just saying they want the work done. So even though that's like that's one area that it's going to cover. So I don't think I would like to keep like putting into there if that's what they want. Because I think we
All
have
right.
Spruce Bridge at 20,000.
The preserved drainage currently has 52,000 in it. So that will give us 62,000. Let me see if I have the last numbers on that section of my file.
But there's 4 areas. So area 2 is where they want the work to start, and that's the area where I don't even know if this much will cover it, because when the engineer gave us the update, he only gave us a ballpark on all 4 areas. He didn't break it out. So I don't know what he's thinking each area is. He gave us a ballpark high. I asked him to go high so we would not be surprised. I said, but his figure for all 4 areas of work that they want done is $260,000. So
And you said we're at 68 total?
What did you say, Sheila?
We will be
Where are
at
we?
62 as of January 1.
With 10,000 added.
10,000?
Yes.
But I don't know.
So the last update I have is old. Yeah, it's really old.
It's
2016.
Yeah. And he gave us I asked him after we'd been over to the preserve and walked the areas, and I said, give me new numbers. But he didn't break it out. So he just gave me, he still said there's 4 areas of concern, but he gave me a total of 260,000. So
Well, he had 115,000 in the 3 areas on the 2016 thing.
So I would put 20,000 in there.
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know. I'm just thinking they want the work done. The more money we put in, the more work we can do for that.
20,000 is reasonable.
You think
I
so?
mean, it's not going to increase their amount they're seeing on their bill.
I would put in 20,000.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because I was at the homeowners association meeting and they were unanimous in wanting us to bill them.
Okay. Now,
Go
I
ahead.
thought some of that sewer, the 200,000 sewer grant could go towards this as well, right?
It could, and it can go towards Spruce Ridge, possibly it can go towards so many things. So yeah, it is. That's why
Okay.
like figuring out how to use those revenues. I we need to figure that out, because you're right, Tom, it could go to this. But I don't know, actually, because that's a special district, and I don't know if you can apply it to a special district, or make it
Okay.
apply to a town-wide project. So I did not ask that question. And I should
Okay.
write that down.
So how about the Spruce Ridge one then? That one, we've only got 32,000, so it's only gonna have 52,000, and that one's another $200,000 project.
Wow.
How much in that one, Tom?
There's, right now, there's 32,000 in the Spruce Ridge account, and with the 20,000 next year, that'll be 52,000.
I can't, those, I don't have the same, green light.
That's the one you took a lot of heat on at the beginning of the year, you told me, so.
Well, it's not, yeah, and I don't have the same. The problem with Spruce Ridge is that not every is affected. It's a much wider group of homeowners over in the preserve that are affected by those areas, whereas in Spruce Ridge, it's really two homeowners that are taking it for that whole development when it floods.
Our 2018 estimated project cost was 141,000.
Boy, I'd love to come up with some other money to help that out.
And it says phase one was 30,000. So, I mean, at least we've got enough to do whatever phase
Well,
one
we
was.
could do phase one. Let's leave, I think, I don't know, what do you think? Should we leave that one at 20,000, but raise the preserve to 20,000?
I don't have a problem with that.
Sounds good.
What do you guys think?
I think
I
that
think
sounds
so.
good.
If you do, so I don't know a lot about the project, but if you do a phase one and then say we can't do a phase two for, 3 years or something, 4 years, do we have to go back to phase one because it's been so long? That's not a question for me to be able to answer, but
Well,
you know
I
what I'm
think that-
saying?
Yeah, that's valid, and I think the only thing I would say is we still need to put the money in.
Yeah,
If we decide we don't want to start phase one because it'll be a waste of money if we can't get to phase.
right. So
I
that,
hear you.
I feel like maybe you put some in there.
I think phase one is pretty important because you are protecting people's property where there's been a lot of erosion. So
Okay,
that was to put riffraff in and protect her property. So I
Okay.
think phase one is really important.
and will it be okay if phase one sits for a little bit if we can't afford to do phase two right away?
Yes, I think it would be okay to do phase one, and then if we can do phase two when we get to it, at least the phase one will protect the people's property that we've already been damaged to.
Okay, so that,
They would be happy.
Yeah.
Make them happy.
All right. So do you want to know where you're at now with all these changes?
Yes,
Oh, I don't want to know.
yes.
come on. This is fun.
I hate this part.
Come on.
Okay. So right now we're at 19 cents per thousand increase. See if I can get you all. So that's 7.79% tax cap change. And we're 35,000 over the tax cap.
How much?
35,000 over the tax cap.
35.
Well, we made a lot of cuts and then we just added in a big $10,000 chunk, so. All of those special districts also add to the tax cap.
Yeah. Well, I still think we have more work to do. I'm not sure we can get it done. I don't think we have any more work to do tonight. I think we've sort of beaten this as good as we can, unless somebody has another area that we haven't considered. And the only other area is the attorney's fee, which,
I'm not sure that's even gonna make a dollar difference to us.
right, it might not matter. I'm so appreciative of that.
Well, it might drop it to 18 cents, but
The only other thing and this, I'm still confused about it, is the building section. But we're saying we should leave everything in there because we can't, and is that right, Tom?
The town hall building,
Yeah, the building sections on page TV3.
yep, getting there right now. I'm there. So we applied for windows in the clerk's office and the assessor's office are not subject to JCAP, and my understanding is they need to be replaced next year.
Okay.
The 7,300. And then the other one is the heat pumps. We wanted to put 20,000 in and hope that we get enough from the JCAP grant to start with one of them, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And those are the only things that are left in there.
Oh, yeah, we took the 5,000 out for water treatment because it's going to come out of the JCAP.
We're hoping, yes.
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to go, that section was, trying to figure it out earlier was making.
Yeah, there used to be 6 lines. There's only 3.
So, and then the 12,000, we have 11,500 in there right now this year, and we're gonna use that for the cupola. And what was the other?
Fire alarm.
The
Fire alarm.
And then there'll still be some left.
And if we get JCAP money for those two things that can, or insurance money, then we can add some money back in. I mean, in terms of revenue. I mean, they would be.
Yeah, they would be a revenue in this year's
Yeah.
budget, probably. Oh, if you get JCAP money next year, it would
Next
be,
year.
yeah.
But what I'm trying to work out, what I'm trying to figure out with the justices is if they can, because there is a provision in the JCAP that if you have a priority expense, you can get approval, even if you haven't, they will give you approval to cover it if they haven't approved your overall grant application.
Right. I would say that if you got the emergency approval to do the cupola project
Yes,
from JCAP, which is in the JCAP grant,
yes,
that you would probably remove this and you would probably go ahead and do those 3 windows this year in place of doing that.
that's what I was thinking, because it would be just about the right amount. So let me talk to the judges and see if we can get an answer from the JCAP program on that one.
All right. We need that by November 5th.
Yes, I know. But at least that's something to consider.
My only other suggestion is even if we went down to like, tried to get down to like, we're at 7.9% right now. So even if we hold, I don't know, 5%, let's just pick 5% from every single line, equally distributed. Do you know what I'm saying? I might not be saying that right, but I know what I'm thinking. Like if we literally took 5% and just.
If you took 5% in the general fund, that would bring you to 15 cents per thousand.
Right. So let's say every single line item, or something. I don't know. You know, it's like we're almost beating a dead horse right now. But what if we tried to do something like that? Like, what would the budget look like for every single line item?
Well, I'd have to manually do that, but.
I know, and I don't know if right
But
now.
what's going to happen next year? Because we're going to probably be in worse shape and we're at bare bones right now. If
Well,
we're taking.
no, that's why I only said 5% because we're at 7.9% now. So I'm still like saying, okay, I get it. We've been in this predicament, I understand what you're saying, Ann. That's why I said half of it or, some of it. What if we just,
There's going to be problems taking 5% of your insurances.
Right.
5%
so
of your
it's
health
really not
insurance.
feasible. It's just not feasible.
Well, I think where it is feasible are in the contractual lines that are for each section's departmental expenses, if you know what I mean.
I do.
That's a place where it could be. That's why That's why this Excel spreadsheet has come in handy, because it
Yeah,
back over the last 3 years of expenses, you can see
Right.
someone else didn't get
So-
used very much.
thank you, Renee. So that's where I'm getting at, to try to, I understand the situation we're in. I get it. But can we try a little bit more in those? I don't know.
I don't have a problem if we want to run down through the lines in the general fund again. That's not a problem.
How's everybody doing?
I'm fine.
Carl,
Yeah.
I'm awake.
everybody okay with doing that?
I'm awake.
What was I gonna say? I had a thought. Oh, I'll come back to it. My senior brain doesn't want to remember. Where's the general fund? All right.
So that would be on TB2. So the first contractual line is the town board. We've already reduced that to 0. I don't think we can get another 5%.
Well, no, I'm like saying equally distributed. I'm not saying like 5% on every line. Maybe that, you know what I mean? I don't know. Is that what you have to do?
No, I can,
5%
you
from
just
every
have to tell me
single-
what number to punch in
Well, I guess.
or which ones you want to go after.
So are you talking about even taking 5% from each personal services line?
No, I'm saying as a whole. As a whole.
Okay, so you wanna know what the total number would be then that you need to take to get 5% out of your general
Yeah,
budget? Is that what I'm
yeah.
kind of hearing?
Yes. Do you see where I'm coming from, Renee?
Yep, I do now.
So our current budget is, oops, wrong line, 415,000. So
Of
you
the
would need to cut
0.4?
almost $21,000 out of your budget to get 5%,
Ah!
out of just the general fund.
Oh my
Is
God.
that out of each line or just the 0.4?
That would be, no, that would be the total of all of the lines.
As a
Okay.
whole.
That's as a whole, and our 0.1 lines currently are at,
Oh, go ahead.
291,000 of that.
What is that? The 291 for?
291,000 of that 415 is the personal services lines. So,
Yeah, and I know it doesn't matter and it's a little amount, but you can take that $150 out of my line for equipment and you can take another 100 out of contractual, because I really don't, the only reason the 150 was there is because someone told me I should get the docking station for my laptop, and I can't live without that. I don't know if I need that, and I don't have a lot of contractual. I don't think I've spent nothing so far this year, right?
I think that's correct.
So just reduce it.
Yeah.
And really, I don't know how people feel about it, but I would take a cut and pay.
I said the same thing. Me too.
I would.
I would too.
I don't
But
care.
I feel like there's so much work involved in this right now that the amount of hours I'm putting in is irrelevant. It really is. But I'm just saying that. I think it's, but I also look at comparatively speaking, I think, Tom, can you speak to where we are as far as the supervisor's salary compares to others? I think like Lafayette is similar, and
Let me
Tully,
open up a file for you if you can hang on just a second.
you are amazing.
He is.
He's gonna show us.
I know it.
Why you got his raise?
Yeah.
Renee, can you take out what is it, $1,200 for the cleaning person?
It's out. But we put in money for the contractual cleaning service.
Well, can we just take it out for now? Renee?
and not do any
Well,
cleaning?
Well,
I'm doing the cleaning.
I know, but what happens if you can't?
And let's just figure that out when I can.
Then we won't have money for that.
In a year of COVID, that's not a great idea.
Not a good idea. Leave it.
Yeah,
Not
okay,
picking up with
so.
everything, that's my opinion. I know where you're going, Judy, and
We're trying to save money.
Yeah, we're walking a fine line though, and Tom Chartrand can explain it better than I can, where you can't go so low.
right,
Yeah.
Number one, we can't meet our expenses next year. And secondly, where we have very little like wiggle room for the unexpended fund balance that helps
Right.
offset. But the other thing I have to say is we also have been handed a really raw deal because there is hardly any money for a rainy day in this town. And so the problem is if we had some rainy day fund where we've already had money set aside for some of these things, we wouldn't be looking to do, we could
Right.
of this, we could cut
True.
back. We don't have that.
True.
Okay, so
What am I looking
can
at?
everybody see my spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm on the supervisor's line. I'm gonna go one above it. So Fabius, 6,000 for the supervisor, Lafayette, 15,300, Atisco, 6,000, Pompey, 16,000, 12,150 for Spafford. Tully is at 20,270.
Wow.
So
It is right in line with the
Tully is
population.
quite a bit smaller than you. Lafayette is quite a bit smaller than you. Spafford is about the same size as Fabius, so much smaller than you. And then town board members.
I know, look at how
2,500.
little these town board members get paid.
Yeah,
Guys,
you do
a
better
lot
than
of
some of the
work.
other town board members.
Yes, but you guys have been doing a lot of work. I mean, it's not like you,
We can still cut.
There isn't-
okay, I don't care if you cut it. It's, as a whole, we have to agree upon it, but I'm okay.
when does it become we're not adding to any salaries, so we could still reduce, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good to change the salaries after
Yeah.
because those actually go out in the newspaper, so it doesn't do you any good to put them, to reduce them afterwards at the November public hearing.
Got you. All right.
I think the salaries should stay where they are.
I agree, Carl.
Renee's putting in a lot of hours. And don't mess with them. Town board members never ask for a raise. They have the same 40.
No, it's the same that I was paid when I was on the board 10, 11, 12 years
Yes, so that's not a place to be cutting. It doesn't gain that much.
ago.
Okay.
And I wasn't suggesting it for you, I was suggesting it for me.
Okay,
I really think, Sheila, do you want to go through these?
no, I was just making a suggestion on the budget as a whole,
Yeah.
in,
I mean, we can nickel and dime in places, which is really about more like, 100 here, 200 there, but
right, but when the total has to come up and be $20,000, that's,
Yeah.
that's a pain in the butt. Yep.
Well, and there's a lot of these lines that are already at the minimum that we're spending in the previous 2 years, and
Right.
costs do continue to go up.
Right.
we're just going to be doing a lot of belt tightening next year with really stopping to think if we need something or if we can do without a lot of these lines.
Yeah.
And I really don't believe that we can take anything from highway. I just don't. I just see that
No.
expenses are all necessary. I don't know where, and Tom's given us 10 and
Yeah, that's good.
there's
Well,
raises.
the thing is if we do get the multimodal grant, and let's say we get $100,000 and it cuts time, we're gonna have to take that out of Tom's budget, so
That has
when
to-
that comes back, he's probably not gonna have to do as much work in total. And if, let's say we net like 80,000 from that, that's good. You've got a couple of huge pieces of equipment coming up that 80,000 isn't even a drop in the bucket. So
Right.
I wouldn't recommend cutting the highway
No.
budget when you have such
No.
huge numbers coming at you, even if
No.
you do get the multimodal grant.
No, I agree.
I do too.
We sacrificed enough.
So, I think, does anyone think we are pretty much done for the evening with this?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, we've got it under control.
I think so too, as best we can. You know, the 22 cents or the 19 cents that we're down to when you figure it out is $19 per 100,000. And and when I think about it in those terms versus
That ain't-
the percentage increase, because we're
Yeah.
working with such a small tax to begin with, that the percentage, that 19 cents is literally, what, 8%? What'd you say, 7 something percent?
Yeah,
7.9.
7 3/4.
You got to put it in perspective to what it really is. And then this year, if we can, I mean, we'll have to see. We'll see what the public thinks next month. But do we need to move? Are we ready to move this to a preliminary budget? Board
So let me give you the quick rundown of what that means. When you move it to preliminary, it doesn't allow you to increase elected official salaries any further. You can still reduce elected official salaries, you just can't increase them. You can change any of the other budget lines, but I wouldn't recommend, once you put it out in the newspaper that you're gonna be at 19 cents per thousand, that you would do significant increases to your budget after that. It just doesn't look right. If you're gonna cut a few thousand and maybe get it to 18 cents or something, yeah, that's something you would do after you've done a preliminary budget. So if you're pretty happy with the big picture of things, the preliminary budget should be pretty close to what you're gonna present to the public.
Yeah, it's time to move it to preliminary. Yes.
I think we've done a lot of work.
Yep, accomplished a lot.
I agree.
So
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed, yes.
Agreed.
we need a motion.
So I heard that Carl made a motion. Is
I
that correct?
second
Correct.
it.
Sorry.
And who made the second?
I did. Judy.
Judy, okay, because I don't see everybody right now, because I get the spreadsheet in front of me.
I just see you, Tom.
Oh, that's nice.
I see nice. I love the background.
I see all of you.
I
Okay,
see Renee.
Okay, I could bring the mirror up. What was that?
okay, and Renee, you want to call for an all in favor?
You want that, or should I do a roll call? I don't know with the.
Preliminary just needs a yay
Okay,
and nay.
I just need to know if there's no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're moving to preliminary.
Okay, now your next motion is to set the time for your public hearing. And currently we have a 6:30 public hearing for the tax cap override, which obviously we need still. And I would recommend that we schedule the public hearing for November 4th at 6:35 or as soon as possible.
Make a motion, we hold a public hearing on the budget at 6:35 on November 7th.
Second it.
November 4th.
4th,
November
November.
November
4th.
4th. And that was Judy that seconded it?
Yes.
Yes. If there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, public hearing scheduled. And I just want you to know, I did not make one single motion tonight, nor second a single motion. Because you all jump in so quickly, I'm just letting you, so. Feel the need.
And then if there's no other discussion, then you can do your go home.
Can we make a motion
that
to
we-
adjourn?
Motion
I can
to
make that
adjourn.
motion.
Yeah,
I make a
let
motion.
Renee.
I'm making that motion.
He's hungry.
Second,
Second.
Second.
I heard,
Everybody
was that
seconded
Sheila
it.
on the second?
Sure.
That was everybody, Carl too.
Okay, and we're all in favor?
Yeah,
Favor, yes.
And thanks for hanging in, you guys. Appreciate it so much.
I'll
Thanks,
send those
Renee,
notes
for all
on
your
to
work.
Nikki.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Night,
And
all.
I will,
Night.
I will scan and email out everybody the preliminary budget, so you have a good, clean copy now.
Appreciate it.
Perfect.
Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tom.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye,
night.
everybody. Night. Night, Tom.
Good night.
Night, Toms.
Renee, are you still there? Guess that. Be good, Tom.
Good night.